Between 1100 and 1400, millions of people survived brutal European winters without electricity, central heating, or modern tools. They faced frostbite, starvation, and endless darkness, yet somehow endured. Their secret wasn't brute force, but ingenuity so subtle we've completely forgotten it today. Here's what medieval survival actually looked like, and why it might save your life when modern systems fail. Okay, so if you're here a lot, you know I ask for likes and subscribes, but seriously, where are you guys? Comment your location and time. Sometimes I see someone from California listening at 3 p.m. and I'm like, are you napping? We're heading to medieval Europe in a minute. First, though, get comfortable. Seriously, take a second. Adjust whatever needs adjusting. You're not going to want to move once we start. The cold hits first. Your eyes snap open to darkness and that bone-deep chill that tells you the fire died hours ago. Frost glitters on the inside of your wooden shutters. Your breath hangs visible in the air above you, not like your heated bedroom right now. No thermostat to bump up a few degrees, no electric blanket to switch on. You're wrapped in a scratchy wool blanket that smells faintly of smoke and sheep. The straw mattress beneath you crackles as you shift. Your joints ache from the cold, fingers stiff as you pull the blanket tighter. You're gonna be late, Elric. Your brother's voice from the darkness. Somehow, he always wakes before you do. You groan as you swing your legs over the edge of your sleeping platform. The wooden floor is like ice against your bare feet. The keeper's already heading up the hill, your brother says, already pulling on his worn leather boots. Shit, not today of all days. Hold up, you mumble, your voice thick with sleep. I'm coming. You dress quickly in the dark. Woolen underclothes, rough linen shirt, leather jerkin, thick woolen hose tied at the waist. No time to eat, no time to wash. The keeper waits for no one, not even his new apprentice. You stumble out the door behind your brother into the pre-dawn darkness of the village. The sky holds just enough light to outline the thatched rooftops against the stars. The air smells like wood smoke, damp earth, and the sour tang of the midden heap at the village edge. There he goes, your brother whispers, pointing to a hunched figure moving steadily up the path toward the forest. The old man doesn't use a torch, doesn't need one. He's walked this path every morning for 40 years. You break into a jog, feet crunching on the frozen ground. Your empty stomach protests. A day of hungry work ahead. Master Wulfric, you call, voice hushed but urgent. Wait for me. The old man doesn't slow or turn, just keeps his steady pace up the hill. His dark silhouette carries something in each hand. A leather pouch slung over one shoulder, a wooden box tucked under his arm. You catch up, breathing hard, your lungs burning from the cold air. You're late, the old man says simply, no anger in his voice, just fact. Sorry, master, the fire went out and the fire went out, he repeats, cutting you off. And why did that happen? You swallow. Day one as the keeper's apprentice, and you've already failed the most basic test. Because I didn't bank it properly before sleeping. The old man finally stops, turning to look at you. His face is a maze of wrinkles in the dim light, but his eyes are sharp. And what did that cost you this morning? You're about to say something flippant, but stop yourself. The old man isn't asking about convenience. Warmth, time, energy to restart it, wood that we could have saved. He nods, satisfied with your answer. Fire is life, boy. Let it die, and a little of you dies with it. So begins your first lesson from the Keeper of Embers. Wait, you're probably thinking, Keeper of Embers? What kind of job is that? Okay, picture this. In a world without matches, without lighters, without even reliable flint and steel for every household, fire wasn't just important, It was everything. And starting a fire from scratch? That could take hours of work. Hours you didn't have when you were freezing, when food needed cooking, when darkness was falling. So medieval people didn't play around with fire. They developed something far more reliable, a system so effective, so ingenious that modern survivalists haven't even figured it out yet. You follow Master Wulfric as he crests the hill, coming to the small stone hut that serves as the keeper's workshop. It's one of the only stone buildings in the village, aside from the church. That's how important this place is. First task of every morning, he says, pushing open the heavy wooden door. The smell hits you immediately, a complex mix of herbs, smoke, dried clay, and something earthy you can't quite place. We check the bundles. Inside, you can see the faint red glow coming from what looks like dozens of small clay pots arranged on stone shelves, each one about the size of your palm, sealed with wax around wooden plugs. Master Wulfric moves to the nearest shelf and carefully selects one pot. With practiced fingers, he pries out the wooden plug and peers inside. A gentle red glow illuminates his weathered face. Still strong, he murmurs, mostly to himself. He replaces the plug carefully, then marks a small notch in the clay with his thumbnail. You notice now that each pot has a series of notches, some with many, some with few. What are the marks for, you ask? Days, he says simply. This one's been alive for 36 days now. 36 days? You can't hide your disbelief. The fire's been burning in there for over a month? The old man chuckles. Not fire, boy, ember, and this isn't even close to the record. He points to a larger pot in the corner, treated with obvious reverence. That one's been smouldering for nearly 2 months. You stare at the innocuous clay pot. How is that possible? Sit, he says, gesturing to a small wooden stool. I'll show you the secret that keeps our village alive through winter. Master Wulfric moves to his work table, selecting a hollow reed stem about the thickness of your thumb and length of your forearm. The fire bundle, he explains, is the most valuable thing a traveller can carry, more important than gold, more crucial than weapons. He holds up the reed. Elder works best, though reed will do in a pinch. The secret is in the preparation. You watch as he takes a small ember from one of his pots using a metal tool. The ember glows bright orange in the dim room. First, you need perfect embers, not too hot, not too cool. He carefully places the ember inside the hollow reed. Then, you seal both ends. Clay, wax, mud, in an emergency. Leave just enough air holes to keep it alive. He demonstrates, sealing one end with clay, poking a tiny pinhole in it with a needle, then sealing the other end the same way. Too much air, it burns up in hours. Too little, it suffocates and dies. But get it just right. He holds up the finished bundle, and you have fire that travels with you for days, sometimes weeks. That's what's in all these pots, you ask, looking around the room with new understanding. Different types, different materials, different purposes. He points to various shelves. Those are for travellers heading north, those for the shepherds in the hills, those for the charcoal burners. He smiles slightly. Everyone needs fire, but not everyone can keep it alive. That's our job. But why not just use flint and steel, you ask? It seems simpler than this elaborate system. Master Wulfric's expression darkens. Let me tell you about last winter, he says quietly. 3 weeks of rain, everything soaked through. The Oswald family tried for 2 days to strike a spark that would catch. Their youngest, little girl, couldn't have been more than 4, died of cold before they managed it. The room feels suddenly colder as his words sink in. With a fire bundle, he continues, they would have had flame in seconds, no matter the weather, no matter how wet the wood. The ember inside stays protected, stays dry. He places a hand on your shoulder. We don't just keep fire, boy, we keep people alive. Outside, the sun finally breaks over the horizon, casting long shadows through the workshop's small window. The travellers will be coming soon, Master Wulfric says, moving toward a large wooden chest in the corner. They'll need fresh bundles for their journey. He opens the chest, revealing dozens of leather pouches and small wooden containers. Each traveller gets what they need based on their journey. Short trip, small bundle, long journey, multiple bundles to rotate. You move to help him, still marvelling at the system's elegance. No batteries to run out, no fuel to carry, just patient preservation of an existing flame. Some have special designs, the old man explains, showing you a bundle with a clever sliding cover over its air hole. This one lets the carrier control the burn rate. Open it more when you need it hotter, close it to conserve. And these, you ask, pointing to some strange dried mushrooms in a ceramic bowl. Ah, Master Wulfric's face lights up. The real treasure, tinder fungus, found only on certain birch trees. These can smoulder for extraordinary periods. He picks one up reverently. The record in this village is one that kept an ember alive for over 2 months. As the morning progresses, you help Master Wulfric prepare bundles for the day's travellers. Each one carefully crafted, each ember selected for its quality, each container designed for its specific purpose. Villagers begin to arrive as the sun climbs higher, a merchant heading to the next town, a shepherd taking his flock to higher pastures, a family travelling to visit relatives. The merchant approaches first, a heavy-set man with a face reddened by wind and sun. "Ah, Wulfric, I'll need 3 for the journey to Eastwick," he says, already reaching for his coin purse. 3? Master Wulfric raises an eyebrow. "It's only 2 days' journey, Edwin." The merchant shifts uncomfortably. The road's been wet, and after what happened to the Miller family, he doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't need to. 3 it is. Master Wulfric nods, selecting appropriate bundles. 1 for your cart, 1 for your night fire, 1 for emergency. Rotate them, as I showed you. The merchant hands over several coins, more than you'd expect for something as simple as fire. "Your new apprentice?" the merchant asks, nodding toward you. "Started today," Master Wulfric says, "still learning the value of what we do." The merchant fixes you with a serious stare. "Last winter, I was caught in a snowstorm near Westbrook. Horse went lame, night falling, temperature dropping. Without my fire bundle, you'd be looking at a frozen corpse right now instead of my ugly face." He pats the leather pouch Master Wulfric hands him. Worth more than gold, these are. Throughout the morning, more villagers come for their fire bundles. Each has a story. Each treats the humble containers with surprising reverence. In the monastery, Master Wulfric tells you during a quiet moment, they maintain eternal flames. Fire that has burned continuously for generations, never extinguished, passed from one bundle to another in an unbroken chain for hundreds of years. You're struck by the thought, the same flame burning for centuries, ancestral fire linking past to present. Tonight, Master Wulfric says, as the day draws to a close, you'll learn to prepare the perfect ember, not too hot, not too cool, the soul of the bundle. As you help close up the workshop, you realize something has fundamentally shifted in how you see the world. Fire isn't just something that exists when needed and disappears when not. It's a living resource, a companion that must be nurtured, protected, respected. One last thing before you go, Master Wulfric says, reaching into his personal pouch. He pulls out a small wooden container, beautifully carved with symbols you don't recognize. He hands it to you. Inside is a perfectly prepared fire bundle, your first. Never let your home fire go out again, he says quietly. This one will last a week if you're careful. Bring it back when it weakens and I'll show you how to transfer the ember. You clutch the container carefully, feeling its slight warmth against your palm. Inside this humble reed is something precious, not just heat or light, but security, survival, life itself. As you walk back down the hill toward your family's hut, the weight of the container in your hand feels significant. You're carrying more than fire. You're carrying an ancient technology, a forgotten wisdom, unlike the flashlights with batteries that die, the lighters that run out of fuel, the matches that get wet. This simple system creates a closed loop, a perpetual resource that, with care, never needs replacement. The genius isn't that it worked back then. It's that we've forgotten it now, when we might need it most. In your warm, comfortable bed tonight, you don't have to worry about your fire going out. Your heating works automatically. Light comes at the flip of a switch, but somewhere in the back of your mind, a quiet voice might wonder, what would you do if those systems failed? How would you keep warm, keep fed, stay alive? The medieval firekeeper had an answer. Simple, reliable, tested through generations. Sometimes the oldest solutions are still the best ones. Your family's hut comes into view. Tonight, thanks to your new knowledge, the fire won't go out. Tomorrow, there will be warm embers waiting to greet the dawn. And as the weeks pass, you'll learn there are more forgotten systems, equally ingenious, equally forgotten, that kept medieval people alive through challenges we can barely imagine. The fire bundle was just the beginning. The crowing of the rooster wakes you before dawn, though you hardly slept. Your mind kept circling back to what Master Wulfric had shown you, the elegant simplicity of the fire bundles, the reverence with which villagers treated them. You check your own bundle, the one the old man gave you, still warm to the touch. Following his instructions, you'd kept it in a small clay pot near your sleeping mat, wrapped in wool to insulate it. Your brother watches, curious, as you carefully extract the ember and use it to kindle the morning fire. "No flint and steel today?" he asks, eyebrow raised. "Don't need it," you reply, feeling an unexpected pride as the kindling catches easily from your preserved ember. Within moments, flames dance in the hearth. No struggling with damp wood or failed sparks. Just reliable fire, exactly when needed. "The hedge weavers are coming today," your brother says, warming his hands by the newborn flames. "Father says we're to help." Your stomach tightens a little. The hedge weavers. Everyone knows their importance to the village, but their work is mysterious, secretive. "What about my training with Master Wulfric?" you ask. "He's the one who requested you join them. Said something about you needing to understand all the village systems." After a quick breakfast of hard bread and thin ale, you make your way to the village edge. The morning mist still clings to the fields, but you can see a group of men and women gathering by the northern boundary, carrying an assortment of tools: billhooks, saws, large wooden mallets, coils of flexible willow branches. Master Wulfric is among them, talking with an imposing woman whose silver-streaked hair is braided tightly against her head. "Ah, there he is," Wulfric says as you approach. "Elric, this is Mistress Edith, master of the hedge weavers." The woman studies you with sharp eyes. No warmth in her face, just assessment. "You've never helped with the living wall before?" she asks. "No, mistress." "But you know its importance." You hesitate. Everyone knows the hedge wall surrounds the village, but beyond that, it keeps wild animals out. A ripple of laughter moves through the gathered workers. Mistress Edith doesn't smile. "It does a great deal more than that, boy. Come, today you learn what truly protects this village, and it's not the Lord's men or their steel. The group moves toward the northern edge of the village, where the massive hedgerow stands like a green fortress wall. You've seen it your entire life, of course, but never really looked at it. Now, approaching with purpose, you're struck by its size and density. Easily 15 feet high in places, so thick you can't see through it. This section needs maintenance, Mistress Edith explains, pointing to an area where the growth seems particularly wild. It was last laid 4 years ago. All laid, you ask? She hands you a pair of thick leather gloves. Watch first, then you'll help. 2 men approach a young tree growing within the hedgerow, a hawthorn with a trunk about as thick as your wrist. Using a billhook, one man makes a deep cut into the trunk, about 2 feet from the ground. Not enough to fell the tree, but enough to weaken it. The cut must be precise, Mistress Edith explains. Too deep, and the tree dies. Too shallow, and it won't bend properly. With the cut made, both men grasp the trunk and slowly, carefully bend it horizontal parallel to the ground. You expect it to snap, but the partial cut allows it to bend without breaking completely. This is hedge laying, she continues. We partially cut the living trees and bend them horizontally. As they heal, they'll grow both upward and outward, creating a living wall that can't be easily cut or burned. You watch in fascination as the men secure the bent tree using wooden stakes. The hawthorn now forms a living barrier about waist high. Your turn, Mistress Edith says, pointing to another young tree. Under her watchful eye, you make your cut, too shallow at first, and she has you deepen it slightly. The sensation of bending the living tree is strange. There's resistance, a tension that feels like the tree is fighting back until suddenly it gives way and lays horizontal. Good, she nods. Now you understand the basic technique, but this is just the beginning of what the living wall does for us. Throughout the morning, you work alongside the hedge weavers. It's harder labour than you expected, and your hands blister despite the gloves. But slowly, you begin to see the genius of the system. Notice what we plant where, Mistress Edith says during a brief rest. She points to different sections of the hedge. Hawthorn and blackthorn provide the structure, with their thorns creating an impenetrable barrier. She's right, the thorns on these trees are vicious, some nearly 2 inches long and sharp as needles. But look closer. What else do you see woven among them? You peer into the dense growth and begin to notice what you'd overlooked before. Apple and pear trees, carefully grafted and woven into the structure. Wild plums, hazelnuts, berries of all kinds. The hedge feeds us, you realise aloud. Mistress Edith nods. A well-maintained hedge provides fruit from spring through autumn. During the famine 3 years ago, these berries kept children from starving. One of the older workers, a man with a heavily lined face, chimes in. My grandfather said in the great hunger of his youth, half the village survived on hedge fruit when the crops failed. And look here, Mistress Edith guides you to another section. Elder, willow, yarrow, comfrey, all with medicinal properties. So it's a living pharmacy too, you say, beginning to understand. Indeed. The same barrier that keeps wolves and raiders out also provides medicine, food, and materials. As the day progresses, you learn how different sections of the hedge serve different purposes. Near the livestock pens, the hedge is particularly dense to prevent predators from reaching the animals. Near the village's main path, there's a carefully disguised opening, a hedge port, they call it, that can be quickly sealed in times of danger. Only villagers know about this entrance, Mistress Edith explains. If raiders come, they'll waste time searching for a way through while we seal this passage. You help as they demonstrate how bundles of blackthorn can be quickly positioned to close the gap, creating a barrier so thorny that no one would dare push through it. The lords in their stone keeps think walls must be dead to be strong, one of the older women says with a snort. Dead stone, dead wood. Our wall grows stronger every year instead of weaker. Some of these hedgerows are older than the villages they protect, another adds. There's a section on the east side that stood for over 200 years, outlived the original village entirely. During the midday meal, bread, cheese and apples harvested directly from the hedge, Mistress Edith explains the yearly cycle of hedge maintenance. We always work in winter, when the sap is down, she says. Cut and weave at the wrong time and you'll kill the living wall. Each section gets maintained every 4 to 6 years, depending on growth. How long does it take to establish a new section, you ask? 7 years before it's truly formidable, but even a 3-year hedge will discourage casual trespassers. After eating, the work continues. You notice how birds flit in and out of the hedge continuously. Finches, thrushes, small wrens and larger fieldfares. The birds are as important as the thorns, Mistress Edith tells you, following your gaze. They nest in the safety of the hedge, then feed on insects that would otherwise destroy our crops. You've never thought about it before, but it makes sense. The fields closest to the hedge always seem to have fewer pest problems. And look there, she points to a narrow trail along the hedge bottom. Fox runs. The hedge provides corridors for wildlife to move between woodlands. But wouldn't we want to keep foxes away from the village? She smiles for the first time. You'd think so, but foxes hunt the rats and mice that would otherwise overrun our grain stores. Everything has its place, its purpose. As the afternoon wears on, you help collect the cuttings from the hedge maintenance. Nothing goes to waste. Straight branches are set aside for tool handles. Flexible willow and bramble are coiled for basket weaving. Even the smallest twigs are gathered for kindling. In spring, Mistress Edith explains, we'll harvest specific plants for dyes, walnuts for brown, elderberries for purple, woad for blue. The more you learn, the more you realise that the simple hedge is actually an intricate multi-purpose system. Defence, food, medicine, tools, pest control, wildlife corridors, all from a living structure that strengthens rather than degrades over time. As the sun begins to set, Mistress Edith leads you to a section of hedge you haven't worked on yet. This is the oldest part of our wall, she says, with reverence in her voice, planted by my great-grandmother's grandmother, nearly 8 generations of protection. The hedge here towers nearly 20 feet high, with a trunk system so dense it resembles a solid wall of wood. The thorny exterior looks truly impenetrable. During the Great Raids 50 years ago, 3 villages in this valley were burned. Ours alone was spared. Raiders tried for 2 days to breach this wall, but couldn't get through. Eventually, they left to find easier targets. You place your hand on the ancient hedge, feeling the rough bark, the solidity of generations of growth. It's like a castle wall, but alive. Better than a castle wall, she corrects. This repairs itself, grows stronger with time, not weaker, and no lord can tax us for its maintenance. That's when you notice something unusual. Symbols carved into some of the older trees within the hedge, intricate patterns that clearly have meaning. What are these marks, you ask? Mistress Edith exchanges glances with the other hedge weavers. After a moment she seems to make a decision. The hedge doesn't just protect our bodies, Elric. It protects our knowledge. She runs her fingers over one of the symbols. Each major plant in the hedge has a purpose. Some have many. These marks remind us of their properties, when to harvest them, how to prepare them. A living library, you murmur. Exactly. If soldiers come and burn our homes, if priests confiscate our books, if lords forbid our practices, the hedge remembers. The knowledge stays safe, hidden in plain sight. As twilight deepens, Master Wulfric rejoins your group, having spent the day working on another section of hedge. "Did you learn something today, apprentice?" he asks. "More than I expected," you admit. "I've lived with this hedge my entire life and never understood what it truly was." He nods, satisfied. The best protections are often the ones no one recognizes as protections. Remember that. Before you leave, Mistress Edith hands you a small bundle of hedge cuttings. "Plant these along the north side of your family's hut," she instructs. "In 3 years, you'll have a small food hedge of your own. In 7, it will protect your home as effectively as any guard." You take the bundle carefully. Seeds and cuttings of hawthorn, blackthorn elder, hazel, and crab apple. The beginnings of your own living wall. "Thank you," you say, understanding this is more valuable than it appears. "One more thing before you go," she says, her voice lowering. "The great storm last autumn damaged the eastern section badly. We'll need to replant. Meet us there tomorrow at dawn. Bring a spade if you have one." You nod, honoured to be included in such important work. Walking home in the gathering darkness, your mind whirls with all you've learned. 2 days of apprenticeship have already revealed 2 interconnected survival systems your village relies on: fire preservation and living fortifications, and yet neither would impress a modern observer. No complex machinery, no rare materials, just generations of accumulated wisdom working with nature instead of against it. Your brother is waiting when you return home, curious about your day with the hedge weavers. "Did they show you the hawk's nest?" he asks as you warm yourself by the fire, still burning strong thanks to your morning ember. "Hawk's nest? No. Why?" He grins. "There's a pair of hawks that nest in the tallest part of the southern hedge each year. The weavers protect them because they keep the pigeon population in check. The pigeons would destroy our seeds otherwise." Another layer of protection you hadn't even seen. You wonder how many more there are, how many systems working in harmony that you've never noticed. You place your bundle of hedge cuttings carefully beside your sleeping mat, next to the clay pot holding your fire bundle. 2 forms of protection, 2 technologies more sophisticated than they appear. "Get some sleep," your brother advises. Dawn comes early for hedge weavers. As you drift towards sleep, you can't help but wonder what other forgotten knowledge awaits you tomorrow. The living fence wasn't primitive. It was the ultimate expression of working with nature instead of against it. Modern fences rust, decay, require constant maintenance and eventually fail completely. But somewhere in England there are hedgerows still standing that were first laid by medieval hands. Living walls that have outlasted empires. That's not primitive technology, that's genius. Dawn brings a thin, cold drizzle, the kind that soaks through clothes faster than a downpour. You join the hedge weavers at the eastern boundary as promised, hood pulled against the weather, spade in hand. The damaged section is worse than you expected. A massive oak had fallen during the autumn storm, crushing nearly 30 feet of ancient hedgerow. "We'll need to start fresh here," Mistress Edith says, surveying the damage with a frown. "Full replanting." The work is grueling, clearing the fallen tree, digging new trenches for saplings, planting in precise patterns that look chaotic to your untrained eye, but follow Mistress Edith's exacting specifications. "Blackthorn on the outside," she instructs. "Hawthorn behind. Crabapple at 10-foot intervals. Elder at the corners." By midday, your hands are blistered despite the gloves, your back aching from digging in the cold, wet soil. But there's satisfaction in the work, knowing you're rebuilding a protection that might stand for centuries. "Elric," a voice calls from the village path. You look up to see your cousin Leif jogging toward you, out of breath. "Your father sent me," he pants. "There's smoke rising from the Aylwoods barn, all able hands needed." Your heart sinks. Fire in the village is everyone's nightmare. Thatch burns like tinder, and a stray spark can destroy years of work in minutes. "Go," Mistress Edith says immediately. "We'll continue here." You drop your tools and run with Leif back toward the village centre, expecting to see flames, hear shouts of panic. Instead, you find a small crowd gathered calmly around the Aylwoods barn. Thick smoke rises from the roof vents, but there's no urgency in people's movements. Your father spots you and waves you over. "Not a fire," he explains, seeing your confused expression. "It's smoking day. The Aylwoods are doing their winter preservation. They requested help." Relief washes over you, followed by curiosity. You've eaten smoked meat your entire life, but never participated in its making. "Go in and see if they need an extra pair of hands," your father suggests. Good knowledge to have. You approach the heavy wooden door of the barn. When you pull it open, a wall of fragrant smoke billows out, making your eyes water. Through the haze, you see Goodwife Aylwood, a stout woman known for her practical knowledge, directing several people hanging items from the barn's upper beams. "Ah, another helper," she says, noticing you. "Good. We need strong arms. Come in. Come in." Stepping into the smoke-filled barn is like entering another world. The light filters through the haze in strange patterns, creating an otherworldly glow. Your eyes sting at first, but you quickly adjust. What surprises you most is what's being smoked. You expected to see meat, hams, bacon, perhaps some fish. And yes, those are here, hanging from the highest beams. But there's so much more. "Take these up to the middle racks," Goodwife Aylwood instructs, handing you several large cloth sacks. Not too high, mind you, that's for the meat only. The sacks are heavy, filled with what feels like grain. You raise your eyebrows in question. "Barley," she confirms. "And those over there are rye and wheat. The smoke keeps the weevils and moths away." You climb the wooden ladder to the middle level of the barn, where several horizontal poles create a series of racks. Following the instructions of another worker, you hang the sacks so they're fully exposed to the smoke but not directly over the fire pits below. "Why different heights?" you ask the worker, a middle-aged man with a smoke-darkened face. "Heat and smoke density," he explains. "Meat needs the hottest smoke to kill rot. Grains need medium heat to drive off pests. Delicate things like herbs and medicines need the gentlest smoke." Looking up, you see the system now, a careful arrangement by height. Meat and fish at the top, where smoke is hottest. Grain sacks in the middle, and at your eye level, bundles of herbs, flowers, and what appear to be medicinal plants spread on wide, flat racks. "Is this all from one family?" you ask, surprised by the quantity. The man laughs. No, the whole village uses the Aylwood smoke barn. They have the best setup, and Goodwife Aylwood knows the smoke better than anyone. Each family brings their goods on their assigned day. Back on the ground floor, you report to Goodwife Aylwood for more instructions. "What's burning?" you ask, noticing multiple fire pits with different coloured smoke rising from each. She gives you an appraising look. "You've an interest in the smoke craft." "I'm learning the village systems," you explain. "Master Wulfric's apprentice." Her expression changes to one of respect. "Ah, the new keeper in training. Well then, you should understand what we're doing here." She gestures to the different fire pits. Each wood creates different smoke with different properties. She points to the pit with the whitest smoke. Apple wood there, sweet smoke, good for pork and fowl, gives a golden colour. She moves to the next. Oak, strong smoke, best for beef and heartier foods, preserves longest. And finally to a pit with bluish smoke. Juniper and pine. Creates a barrier that insects won't cross. We use it mainly for grains and textiles. I didn't know different woods made different smoke, you admit. Or most don't, she says, with a hint of pride. They throw any wood on the fire and hope for the best, but there's knowledge in smoke, old knowledge. For the next hour, you help carry items to their proper locations in the smoke hierarchy. It's exhausting work in the thick air, but fascinating. You see things you never expected to be smoked. Bundles of linen cloth, coils of rope, leather hides, even wooden tools. The rope and nets need smoke treatment before the fishing season, Goodwife Aylward explains when she catches you looking curiously at a pile of fishing nets, makes them last twice as long in water. And the cloth, you ask, nodding toward bundles of linen. Smoke makes it resist water and moths. Not as well as proper oiling, but it helps, especially for work clothes. You're helping hang a rack of leather hides when a fit of coughing overcomes you. The smoke has finally penetrated your lungs enough to irritate them. Go outside and catch your breath, Goodwife Aylward instructs. First-timers always need breaks. Grateful, you step outside into the cool air. Your clothes reek of smoke, and you can taste it on your tongue, but the fresh air is a relief. Several others are also taking breaks, sitting on logs near the barn entrance. An older man with a beard streaked with grey makes room for you. First smoke day, he asks. You nod, still catching your breath. I remember my first, he says with a chuckle. Thought my lungs would never recover. You'll get used to it. So much more than just meat, you observe. That's what the Southerners don't understand, the man says. They smoke only for flavour. We smoke for survival. He gestures toward the barn. A properly smoked grain sack will stay free of pests for years, not months. Smoked herbs keep their potency through the harshest winters. Some medicines actually become stronger after smoke exposure. How so, you ask, intrigued. Take willow bark, he says. Good for pain and fever, as you likely know, but smoke it with alderwood and its potency doubles. The old herbalist, before Mistress Agnes, discovered that by accident during a smoke day like this. Your break ends too quickly, and you return to the smoke-filled barn. This time, Goodwife Aylward leads you to a small side room off the main smoking area. Here, the air is clearer, though still pungent with smoke. An elderly woman sits at a table covered with small bundles of herbs and plants. This is Mistress Agnes, our herbalist, Goodwife Aylward introduces. She requested help with her medicines. The old woman barely glances up from her work, carefully wrapping herbs in linen before tying them with string. You're Wulfric's new boy, she says. Not a question. Yes, mistress. Good. Sit. I'll show you something few understand. You obey, taking a seat across from her at the small table. Her fingers move with surprising dexterity for her age, sorting and bundling various dried plants you can't identify. Different herbs need different smoke, she explains without preamble. Some need the pine smoke to enhance their properties. Others need applewood to maintain their gentleness. Others still need oak for longevity. She holds up a bundle of dark leaves. This is fever moss, useful for reducing heat in the body, but fresh, it's too strong, can cause visions, confusion. She sets the bundle in a small basket separate from the others. This will go to the gentlest smoke, just enough to mellow its effects without reducing its healing power. For the next hour, you help Mistress Agnes prepare her medicinal herbs for smoking. Each has its specific needs, its particular placement within the smoke hierarchy, its precise, almost ritualistic work. The monks claim all healing comes from prayer, she says after a long silence, but they still send for my smoked herbs when sickness comes to their doors. There's a hint of satisfaction in her voice. Have you always been the village herbalist? You ask. 30 years now. She nods. Learned from my grandmother, who learned from hers. The smoke knowledge goes back further than anyone remembers. Before the stone church, before the Lord's manor. She hands you a small cloth pouch filled with a pungent mixture. Smoke preservation isn't just for winter stores, boy. It's for knowledge itself. When the Big Abbey tried to burn our healing books during the last king's reign, we still had our smoked herbs. Our knowledge kept alive in practice, not just words. You're struck by the similarity to what Mistress Edith had said about the hedge, another form of preservation that protected knowledge as much as physical resources. By late afternoon, the smoking is at its peak. The barn glows with an almost magical light as sunbeams pierce the thick haze. The 3 fire pits are carefully tended, different woods added in precise amounts to maintain the correct smoke quality. Goodwife Aylward leads you to a corner where several clay containers sit sealed with wax. The most valuable part, she says, tapping one of the containers. Smoke ash. We collect it from each type of wood separately. The ash from apple wood makes the best soap for delicate things. Oak ash makes lye for the strongest soap. Pine ash mixed with fat creates a salve for winter rashes and chilblains. You marvel at the completeness of the system. Nothing wasted, everything transformed. How long will all this stay in the smoke? You ask, gesturing to the hanging food and materials. Depends on what it is, she explains. Herbs might need only a day or 2, grains a week. Meats can hang for nearly a month, depending on size and how long we need them to last. She points to an especially large ham hanging from the highest beam. That one's for midwinter feast. It'll smoke for 3 weeks, then keep until winter's heart without spoiling. Your father finds you as the day's light begins to fade. Your eyes are red, your throat raw from the smoke, but your mind is alive with new understanding. Learned something? He asks as you walk home together. More than I expected, you admit. I thought smoking was just for flavour. He laughs. That's what the rich lords think too. They smoke meat to make it taste better. We smoke to survive winter. At home, your mother has a bath waiting, a rare luxury but necessary to remove the smoke smell saturating your clothes and hair. As you scrub, you reflect on the day's lessons. Modern people with refrigerators and chemicals might look at a smokehouse as primitive, but the smoke preservation system you witnessed was anything but simple. It was chemistry and timing, knowledge refined through generations of trial and error. It was alchemy, turning the perishable into the permanent using nothing but carefully controlled smoke. After bathing, you join your family for the evening meal. Your mother has prepared a stew featuring smoked venison from last season, still perfectly preserved despite being nearly 5 months old. The Aylwards finished their big smoking today, you tell her between bites. Goodwife Aylward showed me the different woods they use. Did she show you the smoke barrels for the beekeepers? Your mother asks. You shake your head, realizing there was yet another aspect you hadn't even seen. They create special smoke from certain herbs, she explains. The beekeepers use it to calm the bees during honey collection. But it has to be exactly the right mixture, or it harms the hive. Another layer of knowledge, another refined technique hidden within what appeared simple from the outside. That night, as you lay in bed, you notice something. Your smoky clothes hanging by the door to air out have attracted no moths. The smell that clings to them despite your bath is keeping insects at bay, exactly as Goodwife Aylward had explained. Protection and preservation, the common themes emerging from everything you're learning. Your fire bundle sits nearby, still safely preserving its ember. Tomorrow you'll need to return it to Master Wulfric to refresh it, just as he instructed. You wonder what new knowledge the old man will share next. 3 days into your apprenticeship, and already the world looks different. Systems and knowledge hidden in plain sight. Survival techniques refined over centuries. Not primitive technology, just different technology. Perfect for its time, and perhaps, you think as you drift towards sleep, still perfect for times when modern methods fail. Morning comes with frozen dew and clear skies, a rare cloudless day that promises little warmth despite the sunshine. You return your fire bundle to Master Wulfric, as instructed, finding him already at work in his stone hut atop the hill. "How was your time with the hedge weavers and the smoking barn?" he asks, carefully examining your bundle. "Eye-opening," you admit. "I never realized how complex those systems were." He nods, satisfied with both your answer and the condition of your fire bundle. Most don't. The best survival methods don't announce themselves as such. He sets your bundle aside and selects a fresh reed. "I'll prepare you a new one. Today, you're to help Mistress Hildegard with her clay work." "The potter?" you ask, surprised. You know of her, of course. Every village needs someone skilled with clay, but you hadn't expected her work to be part of your apprenticeship. "She's more than just a potter," Master Wulfric corrects, already preparing a fresh ember for your bundle. "She creates what some might call batteries." Batteries? The word is unfamiliar. "Vessels that store things," he explains. "Not just water or grain, but cold, heat, even preservation itself. Go to her workshop by the creek. Tell her I sent you to learn about the cooling emporas." Armed with a fresh fire bundle and curiosity, you make your way down the hill toward the far side of the village where Mistress Hildegard keeps her workshop. The building is distinctive, larger than most village huts, with a tall kiln chimney rising from its rear. Clay pots, jars, and vessels of all sizes surround it in various stages of completion. You find the mistress herself working a large mass of grey clay with strong, weathered hands. She's older than you expected, with grey streaked hair tied back in a practical knot, but her movements show no sign of age's weakness. "Master Wulfric sent me," you explain after introducing yourself, "to learn about cooling emporas." She studies you for a moment, then nods decisively. About time he sent someone. Knowledge doesn't preserve itself. She gestures to a wooden stool. "Sit, watch first, then help." For the next hour, you observe as she works the clay with practiced precision. Unlike regular pots with single walls, she crafts vessels with double walls, an inner and outer chamber separated by a small gap. "The cooling empora," she explains while working, "is older than the village, older than the church. My grandmother's grandmother made them the same way." Her hands never stop moving as she speaks, expertly forming the complex vessel. "The principle is simple," she continues, "but the execution must be precise." She points to the gap between the vessel walls. "This space will be filled with wet sand. As water evaporates through the porous outer clay, it pulls heat from the inner chamber. Creating cooling without ice," you realize aloud. "Exactly." She looks pleased at your quick understanding. "In high summer, when the well water turns tepid by midday, these keep drinking water cool and sweet. Milk stays fresh an extra day. Meat doesn't spoil as quickly." She finishes shaping the vessel and sets it carefully on a shelf to dry slightly before firing. Then she selects another partially completed vessel, this one with a different design. "This," she says, "is for the opposite purpose, a heat battery. The vessel is smaller and denser, with thicker walls and a narrow opening at the top. The clay here is special, she explains, tapping the half-formed vessel, mixed with crushed stone and iron filings from the blacksmith's forge. It absorbs heat during firing, then releases it slowly over many hours. Like a stone that stays warm after sitting near the fire, you suggest. Similar, but much more effective. These can be heated in the morning fire, wrapped in wool, and carried to keep hands warm all day. Shepherds take them on winter watches. Travellers tuck them into bedrolls on cold nights. You think about the practical genius of such a simple object. No need for constant fire, no danger of sparks or flame, just steady, reliable warmth when and where it's needed most. But the most sophisticated, Mistress Hildegard continues, are the preservation chambers. She points to a row of sealed clay vessels on a high shelf. Each is marked with symbols you don't recognize. These create microclimates for storing seeds, certain medicines, even the starter for bread. She selects one and hands it to you. It's heavier than it looks, sealed with wax around its lid. This one preserves parsnip seeds, she explains. Normally they lose their vigour after a year, but properly sealed in a chamber like this, with the right mixture of ash and dried herbs inside, they'll remain viable for 5 years or more. You turn the vessel in your hands, noting the careful craftsmanship. How is this different from just a sealed jar? Everything is in the details, she says, taking it back from you. The porosity of the clay, it must breathe just enough, but not too much. The mixture inside creates the perfect environment for those specific seeds. Too dry, they die. Too damp, they rot or sprout prematurely. She replaces the vessel on its shelf and gestures for you to follow her outside. Behind her workshop stands a structure you hadn't noticed before, a small, partially underground room built into the hillside. The thick door bears the same symbols you saw on the preservation vessels. The seed bank, she explains, unlocking the heavy door with a key she wears around her neck. Every village should have one, though few do anymore. Inside, the temperature drops noticeably. The walls are lined with shelves holding hundreds of clay vessels, each carefully labelled. The air smells of earth and herbs and something undefinable, the scent of dormant life, perhaps. Seeds from every crop we grow, Mistress Hildegard says, with quiet pride, some dating back 20 years or more. If disease takes our wheat, if floods wash away our planting, if war comes and fields burn, we have what we need to start again. You stare in amazement at the clay library of life surrounding you, and they all stay viable in these vessels? If properly prepared, yes. Each type of seed needs its specific clay mixture, its specific internal environment. She points to different shelves. Those are grains, those root vegetables, those herbs and flowers, each with their own vessel design refined over generations. The technological sophistication hidden in these humble clay pots strikes you deeply. This isn't primitive storage, it's precision environmental control using nothing but natural materials. Back in the workshop, Mistress Hildegard puts you to work, first helping to prepare clay, mixing it with different materials for different purposes, then assisting as she throws pots on her wheel. It's harder than it looks. Your first attempts at forming vessels are laughable compared to her precise creations. Don't worry, she chuckles, seeing your frustration. It takes years to master. Today is just for understanding. Midday brings a short break. You share a simple meal of bread and cheese, eating outside in the winter sunshine. Despite the clear sky, the air remains bitterly cold. Perfect weather for demonstrating the cooling Empora's cousin, Mistress Hildegard says, disappearing briefly into her workshop. She returns with what looks like an ordinary clay pitcher, but with subtle differences you now recognize: double walls, slightly porous outer surface. The warming pitcher, she explains, pouring water from a kettle into the vessel, keeps drinks hot for hours without a fire nearby. She seals it with a cork stopper and hands it to you. Hold it. The pitcher is warm to the touch, but not hot despite the steaming water inside. The outer layer stays comfortable to hold, she explains, but the inner chamber maintains heat far longer than a normal vessel. By tonight, that water will still be warm enough for washing. How many different vessels do you make? You ask, marvelling at the ingenuity. Dozens of designs, each with a specific purpose. She gestures around the yard at the various pots and jars in different stages of completion: cold storage, heat retention, seed preservation, fermentation control, even moisture regulation for certain crafts. After the meal, she shows you how to prepare the special sand mixture for cooling emporas. It's not just any sand, but a specific blend from the riverbed, washed and sorted to the right consistency, then mixed with certain minerals. Too fine, it blocks the pores and no evaporation occurs, she explains as you sift the sand through a cloth. Too coarse, the water passes through too quickly and the cooling effect is weak. You help her fill the gap in a completed cooling empora with the prepared sand, then add water until it's properly saturated. Now we test it, she says. Inside her workshop, she fills 2 identical cups, one with water from her regular pitcher, one with water from a cooling empora that's been working all morning. She hands both to you. Taste the difference. The first cup is room temperature, slightly stale tasting. The second is remarkably cool and fresh, almost